is good.
Just settling in for a moment, waiting for the people.
Settling in. Getting our energies level.
This is
All right, the people are coming. Hello.
There we go. Hello, guys.
Welcome again to another Artory DTLA.
To another one. Who would have
It's-
thought? 8
yeah.
episodes.
8 episodes, I think. Friday night. Can you hear us, Dino?
Sound really?
Really? Okay, hold on. We're
well,
having some.
Hello.
We're lighting up the board. Yeah. Haha. See. Our-
We're working it out. Checking
All
the
right,
sound.
In the meantime, we are here with a steel fabricator and sculpturist, Steve Campos. He's been a good friend of ours for a couple years now, right?
I think it's been. I don't even remember when I
It's
moved into that
yeah.
compound.
It's been a while. It's
Yeah.
been a while, and yeah, I've you know we all work in the same complex, Big Art Labs. Shout out Big Art Labs, and you know we've had the privilege of being around very inspiring people, and this is just yet another inspiring artist that we wanted to bring to all your guys' attention.
Yeah, so first of all, though, I wanted to start by saying thank you to 1001 Wilshire for hosting us here at this location. Thank you to Happening Studios, of course, for broadcasting Artory DTLA. We are also streaming on YouTube as well. If you prefer to watch us there, the sound might be a little bit better. We've tried to fix the sound on Instagram this time. Hopefully it's a little bit better. But YouTube as well, Happening at DTLA YouTube, we're streaming there, and we are here as well. So
We're here.
yeah, thank you for tuning in.
Yes, we're present.
Yeah. Yeah, so Steve Campos, here you are. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been. Thank you for having me. This is.
Of course.
It's interesting to walk into this space and see what's going on in these buildings that you just see lights on
Yeah.
as you drive on the 101, and you're just why are the lights on? And I guess
Exactly.
it's
What are they
just-
doing in there?
I guess all those lights everyone's just having a podcast.
Or
And
something.
probably that's going on.
I
But
mean-
yeah, it's really. Thank you.
No, of course, of course.
This is This is new to me. I've never been interviewed, so it's very exciting.
Ooh.
Wow. Well, we have the
First timer.
dubious honor of being the first people to interview you. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
other than Julia was able to do a Steve a studio visit the past week, and they got to chat. So definitely stay, keep a lookout for that video that we're going to drop hopefully as soon as, the next couple days. But now, I get to be a part of it, which is awesome. It's nice to get kind of away from the camera and get to kind of connect with a good friend and ask some questions myself. So I think let's start off with, what do you do? Tell us what you do.
So, what did I say? Welder by trade.
Mhm.
I have a little shop in Big Arts Lab,
Yeah.
Lincoln Heights, in the little neighborhood where I kind of grew up out of. And it's just fabricating and building basically everything. Started with just gates, doing gate repairs. Gate repairs is one of the things that keeps the lights on.
Yeah.
And then on my weekends, I'm just spending time with all these materials that I constantly use every day
Yeah.
to make squares and gates, and I just make other stuff out of it, like just shape them into different pieces and just kind of have fun. That's basically all I'm doing.
For sure.
It feels like just like the same materials, just square stock steel, round bar, but it's just trying to make it look different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, you said you started out of necessity in terms of doing these aspects of your craft. When did you start to look at? Because we fell in love with your furniture and the things that you kind of made as a result of that necessity to kind of fabricate steel. Like when did that start to happen, or did you always have that that love?
I mean, after high school, then my dad had a welding shop in the backyard, so it was just something that was just always there. No one taught us, but we had the tools to do things.
Oh, that's
so
so
like
cool.
having a vise was just a common thing in the house. Like a compressor turning on in middle of the night because someone left it on, and like a chop saw. We literally had a chop saw like where our bed was at. My dad was cutting material on the back.
Oh my
it's
So
so.
it would just wake us up.
Get a little
and
sawdust
like,
on your pillow. Yeah.
It was like it was in the outside, but you can hear it, and
for
those
sure.
sounds were just common things. And so my dad did a lot of ornamental decorative metalwork in East LA, Northeast LA area.
Nice.
And he just would just make I call it the East LA standard security screen door.
Okay.
Which is just like a mesh with some scrolls and square stock material.
Oh, nice.
So that's what my dad would. Oh, that's what my dad would do.
Yeah.
Okay. Get closer to the mic. I'm like going further and further behind.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, well, do we need to fix that? Is that something we need to fix here?
Let me see.
Is his
Testing.
mic- Sorry, we're having an issue. We're having
Testing.
Talking
Hello?
to your mic, Steve.
Hello?
I
Gotta
mean,
check a mic.
you're looking fine here on
Okay.
the board.
Maybe I was just not getting close enough.
I told you, they're kind of finicky.
Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome.
All right. Well,
All right.
a little bit
Hopefully
of-
everybody can hear us
sound
okay.
is sound is essential in order for a podcast to work. So thank you, sound technician, for coming in and letting us know. Got to talk a little louder. Got to make sure things are sounding a little bit
Definitely.
more streamlined. But yeah, back to your story.
So that was basically it. My dad had
Yeah.
a shop. We didn't like it. Growing up, we didn't care about it.
Oh,
You
really?
know, it's just like we don't want to do that same kind of work. And I've always like, you know, I guess you never want to be like your parents, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, or maybe you do. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go into fix people's gates. I ran into some artists who I met in the neighborhood, and they were making really beautiful gates for the city of Los Angeles and the LA River parkways. And I kind of stayed there. I didn't want to leave because it was something that was new. And like I didn't know the same application that my dad was doing with gates. There were other people making these really beautiful doors and
That's
gates
awesome.
for the city and,
Yeah.
and having fun at it at the same time and running their own business. So
Wow.
once I ran into them and slowly stuck around, I had to relearn all the things that I didn't learn, like good work ethics. Showing up on time is always the hardest thing, and like giving it your all.
Yeah.
Because when you're working on someone else's project, sometimes you don't work as hard as you would if it was your own.
Yeah. For sure.
So that's one thing. When I slowly transitioned to working for myself, I started to realize how much more effort I can give
Yeah.
to get things done. So, but that's where I basically started from, and was always just. I realized I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Went to trade school, and I figured after that much, I'm gonna continue my fabrication career. Like, I just say anything I can learn in manufacturing, anything that I can read up on, that has that involved. It seems like the path to kind of take.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That was a long one. Yeah. That's amazing.
It's really.
When did you go to trade school? Because that's we always talk about that.
I was in trade school like I think 2005.
Oh wow.
2004. You know what? And the thing is too, I stuck it out for a bit,
Yeah.
and then I didn't really want to go into what they were kind of getting us ready to. Part of the classes was like these history classes was like union history in America, and it was kind of interesting to read up on that. But I didn't want to be in the union. I didn't want to join the union. I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do still. Like only recently, like let's say 3 to 4, maybe 4 years, I've been off and on working, supplementing working for other companies, and then coming back and wanting to work for myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Only recently I've got let go at working at a company, and I just like, why am I doing this?
Hell
like,
yeah.
Always going through this cycle, and it feels like I'm getting dumped all the time. I was just like, oh, I'm not good enough. But it's just more of like, I really start to realize on how your own behaviors and stuff like that.
For sure.
And like, I think I just don't want to work
Yeah.
at a 9 to 5 ever again.
That's an extremely legitimate thing to realize.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to, like,
And
to
most of the
have it.
time I'm broke, you know, but I'd rather have a little bit of money and a bunch of free time.
Oh, just an
And
abundance.
it's just like to be able, like within that time, I can find ways to make more money, and it just kind of keeps adding on to my skill set. And it's like, other neighbors at Big Arts are like, hey, do you want to come work over here? Like Carson.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, working with Brian, even Ray, who's doing mechanic work. Just like, you know, it's pretty interesting just to kind of just keep changing it up all the time.
For sure.
How long have you been at Big Art Labs?
I think I've been on there for like about 6 years, maybe.
6 years. Wow.
Yeah,
Dang, you're like one of the
In
OGs over there right now.
there was people who were there way before me.
Oh, get out.
And they've like, it seems like it's all changed. Like there's.
Remember when there used to be that family in the back?
Oh
yeah, right.
Cowboy and Carrie, man, they love like they would party.
They would party.
Everyone would get mad at them, and I would just hear all this shit. Like they would be blowing fireworks.
Oh, that was them.
That was them.
That was before my time.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It's I heard they're doing really well. They got a property out in North Carolina.
Oh, good for them.
I don't know. I mean, they're just.
There it is. I mean, you just that's the cool thing about Big Art Labs is that, like you're kind of touching on, is that there's such an eclectic group of people, and then all those people have personalities and they bring such like a interesting energy to the place.
Definitely. I've seen, like there's been a tremendous amount of fabricators have come through there. Mm-hmm. They've done like CNC, sculptors, blacksmith. Just a lot of talented people. For sure. It's like definitely one of those things. When you find a place like that, do not leave. Just stay there, or at the if you got money, buy property and rent out to artists.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Yeah.
That's our plan, I guess. We love our space, and you've seen we put a lot of time into making it really nice.
Oh, definitely.
So we were like, once we can find a bigger space, we'll keep this space and we'll sublease it.
Yeah, it's definitely very cute. Every time I walk in there, I always feel like I'm gonna break something. Because it seems so it's delicate and very precious. You can't just even though the walls are just Luan and like 2x4s.
Literally,
little thin pieces of wood.
It's nothing like a little bit of a little paint job can do. It can really spice up a space.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah, but I think it's so cool. Like I think that's one of the awesome things, how you see how different people will upgrade their spaces differently. Like when you upgraded you extended the roof. Ceiling, the roof of yours.
I was like, there was no reason to go that high. But I was like,
awesome.
We're gonna get the forklift. I was like, I'm gonna cut these pieces at like 5 feet. I'm like, fuck it, let's just go 7 feet.
Hell yeah.
And then like, why don't we just go 8 feet? And I was like, we might get a big sculpture, and we might need the roof or something.
Exactly.
Something like that. It would be really, really fun.
Or you could put an installation up there.
Having that space is just like, and then you could rotate bigger pieces, and so it was really fun putting that thing together.
And then even your door, how your door articulates, has that hinge too.
That thing, I try to do a lot of work by myself, and as I've almost always paid the price. I've turned around and the thing just like collapsed right behind me. Like this is just like from trying to do something by yourself and thinking you could do it. And sometimes you can't do it, but it's when the door falls on you, no one's gonna be there to help you.
Oh, for sure.
So I mean, it's like it's quite embarrassing, but I think I learned a lot. Is like always, if there's help, get help to help.
Yeah. I feel like I've been noticing that you've been hiring, bringing on assistants and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of friends, my old friends from where I used to play bike polo with, Guy Bagley, and then who else? Noma, she's come over. I'm making a bed for her, and so she's come over.
That's the bed. Yeah.
But I've been trying to get my friends to come over and be like, hey, look, if you learn how to tack weld and measure and cut things, if you work with me for a couple of weeks, you can go and apply at Craigslist like for a welding job, and you can even just go work in production or do some other stuff, and it's just it's a simple skill to have. I don't even think it's so much about welding. Welding is the very easy part. Is just problem solving and being able to see things like a couple steps ahead. Like when you're designing something or making something, you want to make sure it's like, is it serviceable? Like, am I just enclosing this thing where no one can touch it? And or like just stuff like that. Definitely. But I was forgetting what we were originally talking about.
Who knows?
I don't know. We were talking about Big Art Labs and the space. Ceiling.
But I think that's an interesting segue, though. I mean, do you still apply those kind of principles when you're looking at something that's maybe more sculptural, rather than maybe something that's just more for like a utilitarian
So
use?
a lot of those skills that I've been able to kind of like learn and polish up one of the things is assembly. Like if I could figure out how to assemble something and hide the connections
Yeah.
for sculptural reasons, that's, nobody wants to see a connection, or maybe that you do. It kind of tells more about the work or whatever, what you might want. But I do tend to think like that. It's more like how to either just use things so they lock in place, so you don't have to touch them, and make them just easier. But it does take more time to do, and sometimes you don't even know, like, it's not even worth it.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I do definitely use that a lot to kind of like put things together. Like one of the sculptures that I have been thinking about wanting to do for a while, or wanting to make,
Is a Joshua tree.
The Joshua tree would be fun. Yeah, that would be
Always
really
pushing
cool.
the Joshua tree.
No, I would love. Like, who wants a giant Joshua tree in front of their, like, out of Corten steel?
Oh, it'd be
like,
awesome. Actually, there's a front yard we always drive by on the way to the studio that has cactus.
Oh, they have,
That's in there. Yeah, that would be even
It's just
cooler,
so funny
though.
because it's just like the whole thing with sculptures is like, okay, you're just gonna make something that just spend all this energy to make something look so realistic.
Yeah.
And it's just like, sometimes it just doesn't seem as exciting, like, or make it just big.
Yeah.
For no
like
reason.
Scale.
Like blow it up a bit.
Well, a lot of the times, there are a lot of people who don't know that they want something or need something until it's been made and they see it, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
all you got to do is just make one.
Just
and
make
then you just
one.
put it out into the ether, and then somebody out there is like, oh my gosh, I need that. And
I
then
mean-
somebody sees it and they're like, I need that too.
Can you imagine? It was like,
You know?
we
And
could
then just
probably
keep
sell
going.
it to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, do you want a Corten Joshua tree?
You'd be like, oh,
Like,
yes.
you don't have this, dude. Like, it's one of a kind. But this particular sculpture is of 2 gates. I wanted to mechanize these motors and 2 like driveway motors, and I wanted to assemble them in this way that they kind of fall apart and have 2 gates. This is a big topic about the fences that are going up in the neighborhoods that are being gentrified.
Yeah.
You have this horizontal fencing where it's the panel boards are going in a horizontal position, and you have a traditional, like the stuff that my dad used to make, in the area. This is the straight pick.
Yeah.
And I just, for some reason, just could see these things just like, boom, just like crashing. Like, it was like a one-time thing, and it just falls. It just keeps going faster and faster, and it just destroys itself. Like, 2 doors just like, boom. And that's it. Like, hopefully there's smoke, and, there's
That sounds
a
like,
burnt motor.
So cool.
sounds like performance art.
Yeah,
It's like-
definitely performance art. I
Starts
mean,
as a plain old sculpture, and then
and it's just like
transforms.
slowly it's
Yeah.
coming in and back and forth, and it just starts.
Don't worry, we can help you with that. You do that,
Oh,
and
that
we'll
would be
film it for you,
Oh,
and then
we
it will
would definitely
become.
film
I mean, it'd be
for you.
really fun to like put it in the middle of nowhere, like who like.
We're gonna take it to Joshua Tree,
Oh
and
my
we're gonna put it
God.
out there in the desert, and then we'll film it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it was just like very like I think when I started to find out about these giant mechanical sculptures, I think it was a survival research laboratory. I think they were from San Francisco, and then there were some other people who were making these gigantic fucking sculptures.
Wow.
And I think that's where kind of Burning Man went in that direction, where they were like making these. Before it was guerrilla, they would show up and have like giant flamethrowers and these things that just destroyed themselves.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I kind of like wanted, like, I want to see 2 doors just
Dude,
go at
that'd
it.
be that's a great setting for.
just go at it.
Yeah.
But so it's a lot of. But who wants that stuff? I mean, it's like I was like,
I feel
I
like
can't
everyone would.
compel myself to spend that much energy to do anything. I feel like if I went to art school and learn about like appreciated performance art a little bit more, I would see like the value in it. But it's just like so much work. And anything, like any kind of performance, and then it's gone forever.
So for you, then the things that you make have to have a true,
Like a
purpose, like a
Yeah,
physical,
functionality.
usable
That's where I
purpose.
started to kind of
That's what you're
feel
saying?
happy with being able to like make something and express myself to a point where it's like it's not just like a corner piece or a garden piece or something like that, where it's just like you see people can use it. And that's when I was starting to develop like making things look cool but have more space underneath, for like cargo or space, kind of utilitarian. But yeah, I mean, I guess and then the architectural elements would kind of play into it. Like if you like, all these architects are playing with these materials and making these really beautiful entryways.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't I just do that with the gates and just, start moving things around and shaping the material? Because I can bend the metal in any direction I want and clad it with wood or plastic. And so it's just like, there's another way of like I guess it's been, I was looking into, they call it land art or environmental art, where you play around with whatever, wherever you're installing your work, but I think
very site specific.
I think environmental art is like big and it's just there for a little bit and then it goes away. So like land art, I don't even know. I'm not even familiar with too much of the artists that are doing that, but those are really cool things that I would love to see. Like I would love for someone to be like, yeah, build me this really kooky, funky gate and you can like do whatever you want with it. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make something.
Anyone
really
who needs a gate that's
Kooky,
funky.
funky gate.
Really?
Like Steve, seriously. Because I mean, the great thing is that, and I wish we could actually show you some of his amazing work that we've seen. What's your first and foremost? What's your website?
Steel Fabricated Arts.
SteelFabricatedArts.com.
Yeah, right now it's just a landing page because we renewed it.
For sure.
But I like been trying to get home and sit down and finally categorize everything that I want to show. Like I want to separate into 3 categories, where it's just like art, furniture, decorative metalwork, and like art.
Interesting. And what inspired the kind of like the upgrade in terms of how you were presenting yourself in a virtual way? I would always be like, I'm a welder. Yeah. And then now, because I'm applying for some city grants, and I had a good friend of mine who I, grew up with, after high school and worked a lot with. He's like, you got to stop thinking like Steve the welder and be Steve the artist. Steve the artist.
Yeah,
that
so
rings
it's just
true,
like,
man.
I mean, for me, it was like to have a good friend say that and remind me, and because I would always be very shy. I always be very shy and bashful, and not like, I feel like if you start accepting you're an artist, there's a big responsibility.
Interesting. In what way do you think?
I don't know. It's just like, I think, like, I feel like I would never want to call myself an artist, but if my peers and my friends consider I'll be happy with that. But for some reason, I feel like don't want to even say that and just kind of continue to like keep trying to go after. I don't know why. It's just like ego. I guess when your ego will kind of like eat away at it, or
for sure.
Depending.
Well, you're at Big Art Labs. Even if you didn't know it when you moved in.
Right? It's just like everybody's like, it's like, I got the bigger broom. Like, oh yeah, I got 2 brooms, So it's kind of interesting. I guess I didn't even know the Big Art story. There was art labs and all kinds of, but I think they were just, trying to make some really cool sculptures for Burning.
Yeah, I think that's what it's. I mean, I remember when I first found out about this place, and I was like looking at all the the crazy cars they have like in the parking lot and stuff like that. Like, remember when the old those Humvees that were those like
apparently who was it?
I forgot
some Apple. Like,
really?
Yeah, they were like they bought these really like ATV like tread things, and they were gonna go on an excursion.
Yeah, literally.
A lot of people have passed it. Apparently, Elon Musk's brother was roaming around like showed up to see an art car in development or like getting built. Those are the rumors that I've heard. I was like, who knows?
Where?
Yeah.
In the complex, in our complex.
Yeah. So like, so there's been some like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Stefano back in the corner is always building these giant art cars.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is expendable cash with with those. They're like, I don't even know why. the art cars are so funny.
I mean,
I need to go. I need to finally experience the burn and just see what's up. And I feel like I'll just probably just be napping most of the time. It's like
I'll
I'll be
like, oh, is the Burning Man burning already?
I'll show up really excited, burn myself out, and I'll sleep for the rest of the freaking time there.
Hey, man.
And I'm just like, I enjoyed it. It was great. You
That's
know?
fine too, you know. But you just can't avoid what the desert can do to you, though. Like it is draining. It's invigorating, but it's draining at the same time. I mean, it's just heat, and open air, sand, and dirt. And
it's gonna be funny with COVID.
Is it actually gonna be going on to this summer? Or
I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything.
I mean, that's such a crazy. I mean, that's a whole other can of worms.
Right.
That whole situation.
But
yeah.
so Big Art's pretty crazy. I mean, I love the place. I feel really connected. I've always been really rooted to the neighborhood, and I've never wanted to leave.
Yeah.
I feel like if I know the little stores that sells this, and I know a couple people in the block, it makes me feel comfortable.
Interesting.
Even though like there's like a crazy encampment, it looks like whatever you say. Like I don't even know what planet it is on like Star Wars, or there's just like every. Like,
oh, I know exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it just looks crazy over there.
It does.
It's like,
it does.
I wouldn't be surprised they have their own currency. It's like crazy.
Oh, I remember there was one time we were leaving and like there's people like working with tools on like cars like out in the middle of that little strip of street that's right there.
Super resourceful, man. This is like the bicycle wheels seems like someone has so many bicycle wheels. And it's like there's like 5 broken mopeds next to one working one. It's just like
Alex always asks the question of like, how do they get those there? Like, do they run or like
they probably had to run when they got there.
They ran just enough to get to that spot,
and it's just so crazy. It's like it's just junk, so much junk, but it's like. I guess people just give it so much value. It's like fix one, get one running, and then maybe open a moped shop or a bike shop. You know, it's like. But I guess just collecting. You know, I've had a hard time just getting rid of stuff in my shop. It's like I have buckets, and in the rains, I'm like, fuck. Now I have a bucket of rust. And like I gotta clean it. And I'll just throw it away. But it's so hard to let go of like little pieces of material because you're like, I can use it, and it's just keeps adding on. And like other jobs give me more material. I'm just like, I'm trying to get rid of this stuff.
Please, I don't need any more.
Well, the good thing about our complex is that you can put it out by the dumpster and somebody's gonna use it.
But
they're all looking for materials.
And then like you'll be like, oh, I needed that. You know, like why did I get rid of it? You know, so. Yeah, those 2 containers, being stuck in between them, has been pretty great.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think that's the charm of the place, right? Is that it seems like it's almost like its own living entity. I feel like every time we drive into that through that gate, it feels like I'm entering into like another dimension. I feel like the laws of the land stop at the gate, and then we're in our own little kind of like incubator, so to speak. Yeah. I
mean, I love that place.
Yeah.
So what are your next jobs coming up? Or do you have anything kind of lined up or anything that's you have in mind to make? More specifically besides your cool smashing gate?
I mean, that would be I don't even know, like there's there's so many projects. I keep getting material and like collecting stuff and
Why don't you tell us about the grant that you've been applying for?
Oh, so I recently applied for this grant. It was through DCA, Department of Cultural Affairs, and they had a proposal for a community garden that needed a grandiose gate, like a very like big, like come hang out at the community garden kind of gate.
Nice. And so
very
like.
welcoming.
Yeah, very welcoming.
And so when you get something like that, because I think the cool thing is that the way that you're transitioning, or you transitioned into kind of taking on that mantle of, okay, if I don't want to work the 9 to 5, if I'm going to do this as an artist, like where are the funds in order to kind of create something and kind of liberate myself, right? So I think it's interesting to see how like what your process is when you kind of approach these kind of things. So you found this grant proposal. You see that they want a gate, and then where do you take it from there?
So I mean, having worked in like at a company that installs gates and
Yeah.
knowing how the drawings are assembled and knowing what a particular engineer in that grant proposal might look for. So, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take a little bit of all the skill sets that I have and then make a artistic kind of drawing showing what I want to do.
Yeah.
And thank God I had some really good friends because I was like, hey, my friend Brandon, he's my neighbor in my apartment in Echo Park. I go, can you render this? He's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Oh, awesome.
So he just I give him a sketch, a hand drawing with some measurements, and I tell him what I want it to look like.
Yeah.
And the next day I'm just like, oh, wow, that's exactly it was like a rendering that just speaks a million words than a drawing, you know? It's like,
for sure.
So having that and being able to assemble all the requirements they want, they're like, can you... I mean, it wasn't very clear as far as like, are you going to be in charge of installing this much or doing this much? Yeah. So I just focus on making something really interesting and unique for them. Yeah. And then in writing like the statement of why I wanted to do it, I was like I don't even know. It's like it's like when you get an interview for a job, like why you want this job? I was like, fuck.
I need it.
I need money, but people don't want to hear that. Everyone wants a story, and that's the thing about like I've always had a hard time with creating something. It's like, oh cool, I spent all this time making this, and they're like, but what's it mean? I'm like, fuck. It means 40 hours of hard, meticulous work. That's what it means. Don't tell me you want a story. It's just so weird.
This too?
Yeah, it's just like that whole like, I don't know. It was just really interesting to like. So I just kept it very simple and just proposed it, and I mean I feel good about it. Like, it's very colorful. It speaks. It's kind of cheesy and unique, and I guess people like want cheesy, or you can't be too serious.
How would you describe it visually for anybody who hasn't seen it? 'Cause we've seen what it looks like, but
I would say like an undulating, curving panel fence, and
there's some characters.
There's some characters, right? So it's keeping with the traditional construction of fences. There's these points on the top. They're called finials. So the finials are just silhouettes of like kids somersaulting, grandma walking, a dog sitting down, just stuff you would see in a community.
Right.
That's awesome.
So like I've just had 2 palm trees on the corner, and I don't know what else I wanted to add in there. Like I put someone on a bicycle or something like that. It's just like really funny. But the harder part is they're just generic silhouettes, but. Once if I get the job, it's making them look like they're playing with each other, like every little character, not just CNC cutting it out and putting it on there, which is the copy and paste of like public art. You just especially when you're trying to produce stuff like that, you use metal, you CNC cut it. It's so flat, and being able to shape it and form it and give it some depth is the thing where it's going to be kind of fun.
Oh, for sure.
So.
And how do you what kind of process is that called in terms of like shaping and giving it more life?
I would just like heating it up and like twisting the torsos and the bodies. Ooh. And then adding maybe going in there with a TIG torch and adding more detail. Whoa. Like now I'm thinking about it, maybe someone jump roping would be kind of cool to kind of capture with the little rope and stuff like that. And I want to utilize the vertical parts and have people either like climbing or trying to like do really silly stuff, just like why not,
No, of course. Yeah.
It'd be really fun. I keep
what?
I keep always just like looking over here. I'm like, I don't feel, there's 2 of you and I'm like trying to like split my eyes.
Look both.
Yeah, don't do that. That might be too
I'm gonna give you a headache.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I've already told you a million times. I think that you're destined to get that job. So,
wow, man,
I mean,
great.
Just the way you talk about it, it's. You call it cheese, but I call it like. I think that's amazing. The concept, because some people might overthink it and might try to get too kind of heady with it, but
too extravagant or like something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and you made it. There's beauty in the simplicity of it. It's like, well, what do you want? A gate to tell you about the community? And I think you hit it right on the head.
The colors are really funny because there's this factory across the LA River in Boyle Heights. It's called El Pato.
Okay.
And it's a duck sauce, and they have Mexican sauce. So
Yeah.
it's like, I wanted to pick. The can has these really cool colors, like yellows, orange, blues, and and I was like, those are the colors I want to use for this thing. And I don't know why. It's just like something that kind of like is part of like when you drive by, you see this really silly duck with this like really iconic yellow can. Yeah, that they even still use the traditional rigid, these old cans that have these indication like ridges on them. So you can like you use it and you're like, I want to reuse this can. It's like people put plants and stuff like that. Oh, it's a really interesting can. It's like you hold it and it has so much like texture and it's like you see all these other cans that just have like a piece of paper wrapped around it, and like they silk screen or print on a steel can. Whoa. So each one of them is like, and they only sell for like 79 cents. So you're like, what is the cost of printing on these? Like I'm pretty sure it's more sophisticated than just like printing than like some kind of other mechanics behind it. But it's really, you can see the colors of that. Interesting. It's very festive.
Nice.
I think it's funny that you talking about the story of why you picked this and why you picked that, and you also talking about what people asking you what the story is behind this, and you being like, "There's no story, it's just work," But I think if nobody ever asked you that for a story, I think you would still have a story, because you can't help it. Like when you create things, you want it to instinctually. You want it to have a purpose. You don't want to just be doing it for no reason, because you can tell yourself that it's just work. But at the same time, you want to have the purpose because it just makes it more fun, Yeah. And it's interesting to have to look at that viewpoint. And going through art school, we are like pounded like on every single critique. They're like, "What does this mean? What does that mean? God. Like, why did you put this there? Like, that doesn't look good there because of these political reasons." And you're like, "I didn't think about that at all," And you're like, "Why does it have to be that way?" But it's annoying and frustrating in so many ways, but it's also super beautiful because it really just provides an extra little piece of our lives and our purpose and why we're here and why we enjoy things, why we remember things, why we make things, all of those things, things and things. But
I think, I guess for the counterpoint to that, I think it's kind of cool if you leave a certain amount for the I guess the audience to kind of figure out like, okay, why did he put those little figures up there, and then they can come to their own conclusions.
I used to go. I went in. I was on a date, and there was a giant Martha Rothko painting at LACMA. Oh, nice. And they had a tour, and my date really got upset because the person who was touring us was talking about Martha Rothko and why he used these colors, and I was like, "Oh, she must know Martha Rothko." Like, it's like they must go way back because she knows everything about this painting. Yeah. But she got upset for some reason. It's like, I guess the narrator's interpretation was so upsetting that it just like fucking ruffled some feathers, and I was just like, maybe just don't say anything about it. It's Martha Rothko. It's big and 3 tones, and it's really like it's in really your face. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's so strange. It's like, everything has a price tag, and it's like, like the story behind it. I've always thought it's just like it's so cheap to make something and then give it a really like beautiful story for some reason. It's just like, if it could stand on its own, literally, and like get people thinking, I guess that's good enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I've heard in some places that in some art schools, people focus on like more about the story than whatever they're actually trying to make.
Yeah, there's like other concepts.
So you spend a lot of time, and like I've noticed when I was working at SciArc, helping in the shop, I was just noticed how people would spend a lot of time on their models, and instead of like actually being able to make some kind of detail. But I guess it's all just computer based now. It's just like if you can render something out, like you just get someone else to build it.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, to me, I've always been really interested about the artists who kind of are just they think up the idea and then they have this, this production team that is able to kind of realize their ideas, right?
I've seen some shops like that. It's like the Haas brothers. They were down here on 15, and they make these really cool, like just really intricate pieces of like they had hexagonal brass, and they would slice them and make tiles. Ooh. And they would hammer them into these beautiful, like really strange, funky. I guess their father was a jeweler, and it's just really cool, like pieces of furniture that had feet that looked like animals and fur, and then just like high polish. And I would see the production level on it. It's just like, yeah, I guess when you go to that level to make it precious, you need like 10 people hammering away like to make your tiles and all this stuff. So it's interesting to see like production like that. And I was like, it would be great to do something, but it's just like I feel like I don't want to waste everyone's time.
What? No.
I just feel like it's like if you ever get an opportunity to have a production, just make sure you don't waste everyone's time.
Yeah, I thought like, man, why am I working on this?
Yeah, it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny.
Yeah. For me, obviously when you get to a certain degree of, I guess, a vision for the things that you're making, you obviously need help. But I've always wanted to be the person that is working with my own hands on the particular object. Even if it is something that, obviously if you're by yourself, it's going to take you a whole lot longer. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like do you like to be hands-on, I guess, with your pieces and with your work?
Or you feel satisfied handing a project over to somebody else? This is my design, but please make it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was like, I have people over and I give them a task. Yeah. And for some reason, I've noticed if I explain everything to them, what we're doing, they get stuck on like. But if you give them little snippets, they're like, it's easier for them to like, okay, I'm just gonna do this task, and not worry about it, like what X means or what Y exists. So I mean, I've always noticed it helps me, I guess. Like I can say bend all these pieces like this, and I can go over here and work on something out, and I'll just look and I'll say, okay, he's doing it right. He has his safety glasses on. I'm like, okay. And then I can actually, it really does help me think about something else at the same time. It's like, I'm going to start staging for the next project or figure out how to solve this problem.
Do you ever see yourself, I guess, getting to a point, let's say when you get this next grant proposal all said and done, because it's not a matter of if, it's when, because you're freaking brilliant.
I was just like, oh man, I don't know who it is.
But when you get to, do you see yourself ever getting to that point where you have like a team working under you, or is that something you aspire for?
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. I would, if I got a grant, I would like to hire the people that hired me when out of high school.
Oh, really?
That's like my dream. I was like, so then I can like yell at them. But I'll make it okay. I'll take them all to lunch and make sure there's enough budget for lunch money and
for sure,
like whatever But it I think at that point, I've always said to myself, when in the past I was like, when I was trying to grow as a business, and still manage the creative side, it was like I was always thinking with my heart. And I've started to like I wanted to give everyone, like I was doing this like socialist thing. I was like, I wanted to pay everyone above the value of what they could produce. And I was noticing, it was like someone told me, like, you have to figure out how to extract value out of people.
Interesting.
In that. And I was like, but it sounds so bad when you say it that way. But it was like, if I'm gonna hire my friends who don't know how to do this stuff, and they don't have good work ethics, I was just gonna keep losing. I'm just gonna keep losing.
Sure.
A little bit. And it feels so because it doesn't feel good to look at people and be like, I need to figure out how to get value out of them. And but I've noticed after kicking myself and being like, I should have been more of a leader or more expressing what I really want and
Yeah.
help people and be there to communicate. But also, if people really want to learn, you
Yeah.
can see that they want to.
Oh,
So
without
I
a
was
doubt.
always noticing that with like running that side of the business.
That's a
So-
really good point to make in terms of artists valuing themselves. You know, it's easy for us to just give things away and just like change prices and, you know, give our friends work because we just want them to have work because we love them, you know. But
Yeah.
that's such a good point, and it's a good reminder to say that we have to value ourselves first. And if we're not doing that, then we'll never make anything out of ourselves and be able to give to others as well.
When I found out that like Art Center and all these art schools had like at the end of your graduation, you had to take a business class. You know, my friend, she deals with particularly just business, but in the art world, and it's just interesting to see it from her point of view, and like there's, I mean, it is a business.
It is.
Yeah, it is a business. I mean,
It just doesn't look the same as most other businesses. It's formatted in such a completely different, free-form, organic way. And
I mean, it's wrapped in the veil of like free expression, right? But
Yeah.
then it's like, it still pertains to, okay, you're providing a service, and then, well, you know, where's your target audience and how are you providing that service?
Speaking of art business, real quick, I'm going to segue over to the documentary that we just watched.
Oh.
If you haven't seen it yet, I think you would actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Speaking of Rothko.
Speaking of Rothko, there's a new documentary on Netflix called Made You Look. That's what it's called, right?
That's
Made
what
You
it's
Look.
called, yeah.
And it's about the big ordeal, the big scandal with the fake Rothkos, the Pollocks, the Motherwells, all of the abstract expressionists at this gallery. I can't remember the name of the gallery now. Somewhere.
Something like that.
Nodler.
Nodler.
Yes, there's the K though.
Yeah.
Nodler Gallery got a hold of the Anne Friedman, who worked in Nodler Gallery, got a hold of all of these fake abstract expressionist paintings from this woman who had kind of a murky story about where they came from, but she had all of these people come in and assess them and look at them, and she had pictures and just like appraisals and all these things, and all these people were fooled that they were real, and they ended up all being fake, and they sold them to all these people, and eventually it came out that they were all fake, and then she got sued big time, and then the gallery closed down and all these things.
Man.
It's very interesting because the paintings actually do look really good. And it's just, it always made me ask, it already has made me ask the question of like, you know, if it's beautiful, if you personally think it's beautiful, is it really worth the amount of money that's charged for the name that's on it? Like, if it looks like a Mark Rothko and you think it's beautiful, like, does it matter if it's a Mark Rothko
like original
or
or
not?
something like that.
You know? But also, the guy who's making the paintings put Mark Rothko's name on the back of it as if it were Mark Rothko. But it just made me think of just like, would it matter to me, you know, if I spent $2 million on it and I still thought it was a beautiful painting?
I mean,
Maybe I'd be like, yeah.
I wonder if you can make a second market where it's just like copies, like good enough copies.
Yeah.
I remember I wanted to buy my first piece of artwork, and it was original, and it was like $2,000 from a local person.
Oh, wow.
It was a painting of in Lincoln Heights by Right, this old market, and it looked really beautiful. And my friend goes, "Why don't you just take a photo of it and Xerox it and just put it in your living room? Why are you spending so much money?" And I was just like, I guess that's what you would do, right? It's the same thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, well, how about for you? How about, let's say, like, there's an original Steve Campos, and you know, like there's a public art installation that you did, let's say a beautiful gate, and then you're like walking down the street and you see someone made an exact identical one to yours. How would you feel?
Well,
go
just to be clear, I like don't condone like full scale copywriting. You know, like if somebody's making it something that looks exactly like yours and they're putting your name on the back of it, like that's a pretty big deal.
Would that get you upset?
Yeah,
I was like,
I didn't make
"Ooh,
that.
that's a beautiful tree
You
there,"
know,
but
obviously I'm not. It's still an interesting story and it's something interesting to think about. You know.
I've always felt like it's always kept me from showing things because
really?
I've always had like, oh, someone's gonna take it, you know? Someone's gonna use it, you know. It's just like, and I started kind of getting over that feeling and just being like, fuck it. If someone takes it, I'm already gonna make 5 different designs or 5 different things. I'm like, so like, I mean, because I remember I used to copy and trace things as a kid, and that's how I think I learned how to draw. It was just like,
That's
trace
what they
and
make
trace
you do
and
in art
trace.
school too.
For sure.
Like master copies are a thing that is regular. We take old masters and we repaint their paintings the exact same way that they did to learn their methods and their techniques, and that's super important. But in a way, it's like teaches you like, oh, this is okay, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I mean, I've always because I used to. And people used to knock it, and I was like, oh, you're not doing it by freehand or whatever. But I mean, it helped a lot. Like
without a doubt.
Mechanics and
Yeah.
just kind of doing that. So I wouldn't really be upset. I guess again that ego, right? It's just like if you're really gonna get upset, like you gotta have to ask yourself something. It's like because it's just like. I mean, you could tell when someone's completely copying something, but you could tell if someone's really trying. You can't be completely mad at them.
Oh, not
if
at
they're
all.
Really trying. So I
No,
guess that would be the thing, and I wouldn't really care too much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when it comes to millions of dollars and the scarcity of the work, and it's from an artist that's already passed and all that kind of stuff, it definitely shovels a lot of weight onto that whole situation. But
well, there in that case though, with the Rothkos and the Pollocks, there's millions and millions of dollars being put into this, and I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot of money to lose. I mean, unless you've got millions more.
But
maybe it's not so much.
The galleries are losing the money, and the artist is probably gonna be like, "Fuck," like he just got stuck in between two big players or whatever, two big entities. But I don't know. I mean, fuck it. I mean, you can't.
There's a lot of
too.
There's a lot of freedom in arts, in the arts, and everybody should definitely experiment with it. If somebody inspires you and you see a material, you're like, actually, I kind of want to try that material, and I'm going to start with this style because that artist is the one who inspired me to do it in the first place, and I might emulate. Like, I want to emulate what they're doing first.
Yeah, I mean the best. Great. Yeah, the best advice I ever got, because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with art, and I thankfully had a family friend who knew an artist, and one of the things that he did is he handed me a big book from the MoMA and said, find the artist that you were inspired by, and then basically kind of copy what they're doing until you can get a voice for yourself. You know, and I guess that'd be a good segue in terms of like who are you inspired by? Like what inspires, like what gets those creative juices flowing for you? I
mean, I don't know. I mean, there's in as far as like metalwork, I've seen some really cool. I think it's something Paley. He makes these gothy like big fucking. I mean, I'm talking exaggerated arches for no reason, and it's just like everything's riveted. And he started at a scale like this. He would make jewelry, two big giant gates. Whoa! And it's
that's
like
a big transition.
Yeah, no, like really Art Deco kind of. I like Art Deco, and I like kind of graffiti. Like when you're like when you're tagging and you're doing something. Towards the end, you just like it's like a big ass circle. It's just like, or you just run with the can, or just something. I mean, and if you can just make that out of steel, I was just like, there's another gate on the other side of Fletcher where it's just like these waves, and there's like rocks glued into the fence, and it's a galvanized. It's on the other side of Fletcher entrance, and the arches just like go like this, and just like boom, boom, and they're big. Yeah, like and it just seems like anything that's like surreal, I guess you would have to say, like a surrealist style. It's like is where but specifically artists, I don't really keep it too much of like
It's okay, I'll send you a bunch.
Yeah,
I'll send you some that might inspire you.
No, it'd be really,
doing
really
similar
great.
work.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we want to continue on? It's about to end on Instagram.
What time we got right now?
Unfortunately, there is an hour limit on Instagram Live.
As always.
Do they charge you? Do they charge you after that? They're like,
no, they just like cut it off. They're like, oh, it's too long.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a good talk. How are you feeling?
Sure. We're gonna sign off on Instagram Live. We have a cap out limit. If you'd like to continue watching, we're gonna carry over on YouTube. We are currently streaming on YouTube on Happening in Downtown LA YouTube. Yeah, we're here with Steve Campos.
Steve Campos.
Learning more about what he does.
Where can Steve? Where can we find you on Instagram in case people want to see your work?
So it's Steel Fabricated Arts, and then Steve Campos. I don't think it's just my name.
This is his
on
name.
Instagram.
All right.
All right.
Amazing work there. Check him out. Gonna make the transition, but we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and
Thanks for tuning in. We're hopping over to YouTube, so we'll see you
YouTube.
there.
Shout out YouTube.
That's so much fun.
Bye.
All right. Ooh, yes, it did this time.
Last week.
That was cool. Oh,
Oh, sorry. Hi, we're still here.
we're still here.
Hey!
Oh yeah, now you know. Get to let down our hair a little bit.
YouTube
Just
is a whole
YouTube.
different world.
Yeah,
you know?
YouTube is a different beast. You know.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah, we can see that. Dang.
So it seems like you're very much. How do I say this? You love your community. Feels like you're very connected to your community.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that. I've always thought that I wouldn't be able to move,
Uh-huh.
and I've always thought like I want to stay here.
Uh-huh.
And there's nothing special about like the places. You know, it's like I recently went into a store in Highland Park that's not a market,
Yeah.
and I was so bummed out.
Uh-huh.
They used to sell Mexican food, and I made a stupid video about gentrification, and I got so much slack for it from like people because they were like, "Oh yeah, why do you give a fuck?" And I was like, "Well, I liked it because it reminded me of my parents. That was it. That was it." But you know, it's just
There's
like,
definitely something in that. You
No,
know,
for
I'd be
sure.
sad too.
yeah, but I mean, I guess you you can't stand in the way of progress. I guess because you just get run over, and they'll still back they'll back up into you. But no, it was just interesting just to see that and just like.
Yeah.
So I've been feeling connected has always been like something I guess it's just like something. I mean, like I felt like, because everyone that I would meet, they're just like, "Oh, where are you from?" They're like, and when I would tell them I'm from LA, they're like, "You're from LA?" And then everyone's from the Midwest, from the East Coast. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
You got a bunch
You
of
know, it's
people
like,
migrating.
Yeah, and it's just like, and then there's just people who are just upset about it. And it's just like, well, man, everyone deserves to live in a beautiful place.
Oh, for sure.
And LA and the little neighborhoods that are around it are just nice places to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you were born around Lincoln Heights.
Yeah,
area?
so I grew up on like Avenue 37 on Pasadena, and the thing about the community thing that happened to me was growing up there. There was across the way there was this on Figueroa. There was this community center called Floricanto. Floricanto had a foosball table. They had a couch.
Nice.
They had all these books I've never seen. They're like very radical books, and I didn't care. But I was like, I could use the internet, and I was like, and I would go there, and then eventually they gave me keys, and they're like, you can open up and make sure that you take the till. And I was very shocked. I was like, why did you guys give me the keys? And they're like, because you're our friend. And I was like, what? And I was just like so conflicted. I was like, someone's trusting me with this? And then I remember like having the keys to that co-op. And then all of my friends were like, hey man, you have the keys, like can I get a juice? Because they would sell juices too. It's like, no, you gotta pay. So I had to be like, no. You know, like on the internet time, it was like 50 cents for an hour, you know. And they were really doing something really cool. Like they were not applying for any funding, and they were just funding it by themselves.
That's awesome.
And that's when I started to discover more cool stuff like experimental music. It was like they had bands come in and play, and I lived across the street, and I would walk there. So I mean, being around that was always kind of cool. And then it turned into the bike oven. The bike oven was a co-op started by our friend Joseph Braley, who ran for city council. I don't even know what year, 4 years ago. But he started that, and it was very grassroots. It was pretty cool because it was just like you get a different group of people. Like you get some people who wanted to drink. You get some bike messengers that come hang out and act a fool, and like. But everyone was wrenching on bikes, so that whole community thing was kind of neat. You know, I just met a lot of different people. I would meet so many different artists.
Oh, wow.
And the conversations weren't about like the fucking Dodgers or sports or like, you know, silly, you know, trivial things, you know. They actually had conversations about like stuff that I was like, and that's when I started thinking, it's like, I don't need to go to college. I just need to hang out with people like this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and get involved in conversation. And that was kind of the thing. I was like, I think it's cheaper.
For sure it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're ahead of the curve, if anything. Literally, I mean, I think the way things are going in terms of how you can teach yourself anything just through technology and through, like you said, even just through the people you surround yourself with. It's like invaluable.
I remember I did the whole counselor thing in school, in college, at PCC, and they interviewed me and they asked me, like, why do you want to go to college? And I was hanging out with the artist guys at Lincoln Heights, and they would have conversations, and I was like, I would go to their parties. I didn't know what to talk about because I felt like there was a big gap. And I told the counselor, it's like, the reason why I want to go to college was because I want to have interesting things to talk about at parties. And that was one of my things. I was like, because it seems that's the only thing you would probably want. Like, it was like, fuck, you know, you don't want to not have anything interesting to talk about. Or like
weirdly enough, that is, I feel like that's
so
like
true.
at the root of what we're doing.
Because like everyone's like just showing off, like I read this and I'm like I know this, and it's just like holy shit, you guys are smart. Like no, we just retained a lot of information from that morning, you know.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't go to college, then you're just sitting at home on your butt and you're not learning anything. You're staring at your wall, I guess, right?
Man, that's why I love YouTube. I'm just like, sometimes I go down the rabbit hole of everything and just like.
I love YouTube.
Available online now.
YouTube is friggin' YouTube Premium. I got suckered into YouTube Premium. Oh, not. Thank you, YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. It's great. You got me.
You don't anger the YouTube guys, man. They're gonna get upset.
Like the power's like a power outage. They're like, we heard you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have YouTube Premium now too because of him. And now I start to watch a video and I exit it out and it doesn't stop playing. And I'm like, why is there I can't get it to turn off now.
It's good stuff. I love it. I listen to a lot of scary stories.
Ooh, me
by
too.
By myself.
Yeah.
Like, what is like Let's Read?
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
I listened to I listened to Disturbian. I listened to this guy named Mr. Ballin who like does like he has different categories. Like there'd be like 3 stories that will like scare you out of your mind, or 3 stories of people being lost in the woods. Or,
the Lost in the Woods is great.
Have you heard of Mystery 411?
No. Mystery 411.
So basically that pertains to in national park areas, there's for some reasons high concentrations of people disappearing in these particular areas, and they all kind of revolve around stories of like they were there and then they were gone, and then when they found them, they were literally miles away in places that you couldn't even like it's inconceivable that, like, for example, like a 4-year-old went through 30 miles of like heavy brush and is like there. So like how the hell did they even get there?
Crazy stories like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's I don't know why I like to spook myself, but it's
it makes you feel alive, you know.
It's like I was like, I should stop listening to this. It's like 3:00 in the morning. I'm just like really scared. Oh fuck.
Man, it sounds like you guys have a lot to exchange after this.
Hell yeah! I'll send you some channels, man. Julie, you have to come in. You're going to eventually cross over.
I pop in from time to time. I'm like, what's going on now? Okay.
Oh, the same ghost is back.
More kids disappeared. Okay, well.
But other than the scary stories, like one of the coolest things I love about YouTube is it's like the inspirational things and the way that you can find tutorials on anything. Yeah, like that's the coolest thing. Like just recently, I was trying to problem solve a way to work around a particular way I could apply my paint to a sculpture because I need a level surface, and I was looking up different YouTubes. I was looking at different artists that had like videos on YouTube that I was very inspired by. And then all of a sudden something clicked, and
I mean, yeah, that's amazing. People even call it a YouTube Academy. Sometimes I've heard that.
Hell yeah.
People reference it.
Yeah.
I was like, I had a tablet in my apartment, and I didn't use it. And I was like, I had my friend practicing welding, and then my other friend, and I was like, you know what? Here's a tablet. If you ever want to see like what you're doing about welding, just like look it up. I was like, I don't know. I guess that's the best thing to do.
Would you learn anything on YouTube?
Yeah,
literally anything.
Speaking of which, would you ever do something? I mean, I think the coolest thing about when we did the studio visit and I came back to take pictures of you, photos of you, is that I think I told you too, Julia, is that he was trying to problem solve. And so even though I'm there taking photos, he's like talking to me about what he's going through. And it's very, I mean, to me, it's it sounds like you have the heart of a teacher in you, the way you explain things and the way that you're like almost making me want to like put down the camera and like start helping out.
Let me try
it. I used to, I worked for a brief amount of time. I worked at Molten Metalworks, and it was different because it was geared into, generating money. But the one-on-one, I was like, I didn't really learn. I didn't really get my voice until like after. Yeah. But I mean, I would be interested in doing that. I just feel like having someone like my friend's dad who wants to just know how to do it. Yeah. And I'm just like, versus someone who wants to like do it to like make money or like to create something. Yeah. I would probably feel more keen to like helping someone that wants to like to apply it.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so cool because we were actually talking to Miguel, Julia's coworker that she used to work with at Trader Joe's.
I sent you the video of him.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw him doing those prints of the. Was it the paletero? The guy who's pushing the little ice cream trucks?
Remember you asked me to draw you something one time about a hipster, and I was like, oh, I have a guy who could do that for you. That's him. That's Miguel. I was like, oh, he would do that
for sure.
Yeah, I wanted that. That would have been great. But I saw that stuff that Miguel did, and I was like, that's like interesting.
It's really dope, and he has accessibility now to his printing press, and he had the idea of, again, people who are interested in his craft of being able to do something of that nature. Would that ever interest you, like
doing some sort of workshop?
Doing like a workshop.
Workshop? Yeah. I mean, just like general public, I wouldn't. But like I say, like you or anyone else, like any other like artist friend, like wants to come and just like, but I've also seen the value of like helping a complete person who has no like interest in it at all, because they're like, it's just on the tip of the tongue. I was like, oh, you need someone? I know someone, so it's good, like kind of, but I would love to like help people, like in, show them how to do some things, but it just requires, I remember when I was in trade school, it was like how many hours it took me just to realize what I was doing in that puddle. Yeah. And when people are just doing this over and over, they just see the bead and they don't really correlate with like how you're fusing and moving the material and stuff like that. So I guess it just depends like how much people really want to learn.
Yeah, like how deep they want to
go. Like how deep they want to do it. Yeah. Like, and because all that stuff in school doesn't even pertain to anything. It's all, only when you're doing stuff that it's going to be load bearing and stuff like that. But I would say, I would be like, yes, and then no at the same time. Just depending on the schedule.
It's a maybe.
Just depending on the schedule, because I was just like, all right, cool. Someone's going to come over. We're going to sit down and I'm going to talk to them. And I was like,
you're going to have to write out a lesson plan.
Yeah.
It's not like fun anymore. It's not fun. I'll be like, just go buy a machine and just
do it.
Just do it. Yeah, just do it. Like most of the time when people call, and they're like, can you fix this? And it's just like really simple. I was like, you could do that yourself. And then I tried to talk them into it. And then they're like, oh, great, thank you. And like that was it. It was like something that, and I guess normally people just think it's so complicated.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, I think that's a cool. I mean, that's a very gracious thing for you to do first and foremost, because I mean, plenty of people take advantage of just the ineptitude of people nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one knows how to do really anything when that involves their hands or involves like do-it-yourself projects and all that kind of stuff. So, it's awesome that that you're encouraging people to get out there and try something, because that's like, I mean, to be perfectly honest, that's something I've been really wanting to learn has been welding.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah, learning how to do the bead and put that thing down, and just kind of like, because at the end of it, it's just how to assemble things fast. Because you can use a $5,000 jig table, and you're just making a cube, and it's like, doesn't make any sense. But like, if you can do that stuff without any special tools, then we're like really talking like you can pick up a welder and make like armature real quick, and not spend like months and like, or maybe even weeks just like wasting your time trying to like obsess over some things that no one's ever gonna focus on, you know. So I guess it's more of like just getting it done. Like whatever it is you're doing, getting it done.
For sure.
But yeah, welding is really easy. I always like joke around with people. It's just like, because I'm not a really good speller, so there's like people give me shit. I was just like, hey, motherfucker. I don't go around. I'm sorry, because I don't go around telling you don't know how to weld. So like, get off my like I can only imagine if the roles would change, you know. Man. It's just like, oh, you forgot, you missed that little comma or whatever it is, you know. Like, it was like so bad. Like, what is it? Spelling Nazi or whatever, you know.
Literally, yeah.
So bad. But yeah. I mean, I would love to show anyone, you know, how to do some real quick stuff, you know. And it just all depends on how much what you want to do and where you want to go with it.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I definitely wanted to whisper something, that at least that little tidbit in your ear, because I think it's it's one of my favorite artists always talks about like the passing on of ideas, and especially of like how to implement those ideas. And like that's like such a cool thing to do, about like how you keep things alive. I mean, I don't think that there's ever like, that the welding trade or people working with steel is ever gonna die out. But I think that idea, like the way that you approach it, the way that you've transformed something that was purely functional. Now you're like, you're into this other sphere of being an artist and really seeing these things thrive. I think people can see like, you know what, this is something that can provide me a living, and then this is not, you don't have to put it in a box. I think that's something really cool about you.
It's been really great to kind of come across that and like figure it out and see the environment around me change just because I know how to do. I know how to put metal together. And it's just like, sometimes it's like, wow, it's like, I guess, thank you. It's just like really funny. But it's a good thing, with anything. I admire a lot of different trades too as well.
Metal and welding, it's like so far from my being. Like it's like I can't conceptualize like how insane of a craft it is. At least on my side of it, it just seems so like, I don't know. You're literally like melting two pieces of this hard, super hard material together like seamlessly, and like it's so amazing. Like, and I know you're like, don't say that, and you're making me nervous.
Oh no, but I mean, like if you really want to get into like that, like why is it like it's just filler? Please. It's a filler rod. The filler rod burns at a different temperature, and there's like additives in there to kind of like bring those two pieces together. So people say sometimes it's like a hot glue gun. But
I can see that.
Like when you used to, when you literally fuse two pieces of steel with no filler rod, you're just heating up the metal and just waiting for the puddle to form, and then it kind of just like it just
like
falls
rips
through.
onto each other.
Yeah, it just falls into itself.
I bet you would be. You should try it someday. I think you'd be really good at glass blowing with the amount of knowledge that you have
really
working
fun
with metal.
to do that.
Transferring that knowledge over. I mean, it's just heat, more heat, But it's like it's. You can make that.
Yeah, that would be really cool to make. There is a glass studio in Highland Park. I think it's called the Gabba House, or the Gamble House. No, that's Frank Lloyd Wright. I keep forgetting
Yeah.
the glass studio up in Highland Park.
What street is it on?
It's off York.
What avenue?
I don't even. It's like the bridge
Is
that
it-
goes over to Old Town Pasadena, just before the Trader
Uh-huh.
Joe's in that
Uh-huh.
area. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like it was a maker movement. They had now they still produce glass, stained glass there.
That's so cool.
But
Okay, I'd be interested to figure out what's going on there. We're looking for some glass artists to interview.
oh really?
So we
Uh-huh.
need
Oh
to
definitely.
We
Yeah.
need to get in contact with some more glass artists.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that would translate to spark your interest even more. There is a show on Netflix. What is it called?
Blown Away?
Blown Away. It's called Blown Away. They have 2 seasons up, and it's a competitive glass blowing show. And they work these artists to the bone. Like there's they start with like 14, 15 artists, so they go in pretty much every day, and they're creating new things, and they get voted on at the end of the day, and yeah, and then at the end of it, they do like a big show with the 2 people that are left, and then they judge you on the show and all the work that you've made.
I love those shows.
And they're all, they're all really good. I mean, they're phenomenal artists already on their own, and so they take all these super well-known, like phenomenal artists, and they like put them against each other, and it's filmed incredibly.
It is.
Where you're like drooling looking at it because you're like, oh my gosh, like it's beautiful.
They should do that with steel. Speaking of
Yeah.
that, that'd be cool.
They were doing that with the blacksmith.
That's one thing I was
then
thinking of. Yeah.
I think the first show that kind of did that was like Monster Garage.
I forgot about Monster Garage.
Yeah, me and my brothers would love watching that. I was like, Dad, why don't you do that? Instead of making fences, This whole time I was
You're
like,
forgetting.
I was like, sorry, Dad.
This is boring, Dad.
Your dad's like, man, I'm just trying to put food on the table here.
Exactly. Everyone's shitting on Dad.
Yeah.
Dad's never good enough.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Anyways, watch Blown Away. It'll blow you away.
There you go.
I gotta
Plug
check it
right
out.
there. Yeah, man. Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
This
I
is-
agree.
I can, just like speaking and talking about stuff, about what I'm doing, instead of writing it down, I guess, like I had mentioned earlier, it's like, it really just like, okay, all right, I guess this is where I'm going. Like, this is where I'm going with this.
I
Just
hope you're
kind of
feeling,
solidifies that.
yeah, I hope you're feeling motivated.
Yeah,
Inspired.
definitely. Every day. People call me just, I even when people say, hey, I want a simple gate, and I was like, look, if you let me have full control of how to design this thing, I will make you a really cool door
Yeah.
at cost. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll do it at cost. Just you let me do whatever I want to do.
Hell yeah.
And just give me some kind of parameter of like, don't go this crazy.
Yeah.
And I will make something really cool for you.
Damn. That's so, wow.
It just, but it also depends too. It's like I do that very rare, like randomly.
Yeah.
Like someone's calling me, I was like, okay, how do I start being more of like creating these things instead of making these like generic things? It's like I always just say, I'll do something really cool for you. It's like
Just give me the
that's
freedom.
Yeah, I think that's the first step right there, right? Just making sure that people understand there's the possibility.
Yeah.
And that's the option. Damn, dude, I can't wait to see what's going to happen in your future, man. Literally, I mean, I feel like something big is around the corner, or at least something new. So that's something awesome, man.
I mean, definitely be able to have some employees and maybe even develop a piece of furniture. I mean, we were talking about like the plagiarism. And I wouldn't feel mad, but I do want to get to the level where China rips off a design, and I'll be like, yes. I feel like I made it. Like someone did it.
That definitely means something.
Yeah, right.
They're
Like,
watching you.
I mean, there's probably so many things out there like anyone can make. So I was like, I don't even try to think that whatever I make is that special. But I guess like self-value, you got to put it somewhere. So,
Oh yeah. Very true. Very true.
So Steve makes a lot of cool furniture. If you're looking for some new furniture for your
Amazing
house,
furniture.
he just made us some amazing hairpin legs. I know all of you guys out there
people
love the hairpin
always
legs
love
right
those
now.
things. Like
Yeah.
I had okay, I'm gonna find out who made them and find a story about these things. Just like it was pretty cool. Like the guy, Henry P. Glass, the show that he first did, I think it was in the 70s. It was called The American Way.
Interesting.
And he copyrighted I think he trademarked the designs or copyrighted. I don't know how it works, but the hairpin legs he didn't touch. So it was the first time where you would see those in design, I guess. And he didn't care too much to like say it was his or whatever the thing was.
Wow.
Huh.
He was probably focused on something else.
Yeah. He's like,
He's like, these will be nothing.
Yeah, it's like nothing. So
Here we
I mean,
are.
it's all like they're great. You know,
Yeah.
they're great legs, and I'm just trying to figure out like a different rendition of stuff.
Dang. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Well, we do have some other slabs. So in the future.
Did you guys finish installing that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll show you some pictures of it.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, Ming was around, and when I was trying to figure out how to place the legs, because you know the back
curves
end,
a little bit.
It curves a little bit. So I was like, okay, like is this gonna be like stable enough if the legs near the shorter end are so close together? And so I was like thinking about that, and so I was like, I wish Ming was here, and then Ming just showed up. I was like, oh, perfect. All right, Ming,
Ming heard you. Like,
yeah, he's like, I'm
Here
on
I
my way.
There's a live edge situation.
He's like,
He got a little tingle. He's like,
yeah, Ming.
something's up.
the slab is in need.
Man.
Yeah.
But he basically gave me some advice and was like, either you can plane it down a little bit more, just give yourself, take off like a half an inch. You can, do this, do that, and then he's like, and he's like pauses as he's like about to leave. He's like, or you can just do like a tripod. You have a pretty stable triangle right there already. So why don't you just try to do that? And
you guys did 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4,
We used 3
Oh,
literally,
wow.
and it was like the weight just makes it just.
It's
sit
super stable.
beautifully.
Oh,
It
man.
looks
Yeah.
awesome now.
It's
It's got.
freaking-
I mean, when's the last time you saw a desk with 3 legs?
Yeah,
I
I love it, man. I was like a little nervous, like this. Like if this thing falls over, it's gonna freaking hurt someone.
It's
That's
gonna
what
kill my
yeah.
cat.
I mean,
like,
oh, you have a cat?
we have a cat.
Oh,
If it falls, it's gonna kill
it's
my
done.
What's
Millie's
the cat?
done.
What's the cat's name?
Millie.
Millie?
Millie.
Millie.
I can't even pronounce.
Milly.
Oh my
Like
God.
a mill, like
Mill.
a
Millie.
sawmill.
Millie?
Your
Oh,
Millie.
Millie.
Yeah.
Millie the cat.
Millie the
no.
cat. Yeah, but we'll show you some pictures of it.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
It's
so
dope.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
dude, we appreciate you
Yeah.
so much for that.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you need hairpin legs, Steve's got them. He can make them. They're super
And
nice.
don't just stop at hairpin legs. Let him have some freedom.
Give
'Cause
him
I almost
freedom.
wish I wish him like, what do you think? Damn, that's I think if we're able to allow artists to kind of do what they do, I think the world will be a much more interesting place. So
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can find his work again at Steve. It's Steve_Campos. Right?
Yes.
Steve_Campos on Instagram. He also has his business page, Steel Fabricated Arts. Steel_Fabricated _ Arts. Yes. And get some new pieces in your home. Get some new chairs.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
For sure.
Thank you to 1001 Wilshire again for hosting us here in this space. And thank you to Happening Studios for broadcasting us as always and giving us a platform to do what we're doing.
Yep.
Next week we're still trying to solidify. We have like the next month booked out except for this next week.
This week
Of course,
it's a wild card right
I
now.
know. It's we're trying to find a wonderful female artist to bring on. I have in talks with some people, but we have not confirmed it yet. But we, just stay tuned for who's coming on next week. And
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
you. Appreciate you, Steve.
Yeah.
And to the next one.
To the next one. Bye.
Bye.
So what was your? Is it off already?
No,
All right. Shit.
we can edit it though. It's okay.
What was up the thing with the podcast? When did you guys go ahead and it's